Oh, well, hello, you powerful, badass, super strong, name taking, business building CEO. How are you today? I'm gonna laugh at myself. I'm stumbling a little bit over that intro, but you know what, you guys, it's totally okay because you know I don't care. We're just here to be real. And we're gonna have another real conversation today with the amazing Stephanie Blake, who runs the Blake Collective. I met her online where I meet most of the people that I adore and like to hang out with. And I can't quite remember where. It must have been in a bundle or something like that. Which, side note, is a great place to network and meet other people that you want to build your business with, not only going in to grow your email list. So anyway, I met Steph somewhere along the way. I joined one of her programs called the 20-hour work week. And what I really love about Steph is she's built such a professional brand and a professional business, but she's stayed a real person. So she's not, trying to be perfect or know everything. She's just worked really hard and gotten very specific and focused on what it is that she's here to do and how she wants to do it. And she's led herself very strongly into building something that served her, continues to serve her, and makes significant impact for others, which is really like managing all the work, all the overwhelm of being a business owner and staying focused on what you really have to do and getting your business to serve you while you serve others. So, welcome to the show today, Steph. I'm so thrilled to have you here.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm very excited to be here and chat with you about this.
Yeah, for sure. So, you guys, Steph may, I really want to encourage her to brag about herself today so we can see the transformation, but I'll just point out a few things as she takes us into. I like to do this before and after contrast, right? Of where she was before to where she is now, and what lessons she would go back and tell herself, and what she wishes she had at the beginning that she had to figure out herself. Because I think a lot of us don't know what we don't know, and we can garner some wisdom from the experience of others to give ourselves a bit of a leg up for where we're at.
hmm Yeah, oh my gosh, there's so many things. Where do I even start? That topic alone could last us for an hour to talk
Well,
about.
we can do another episode.
We might have to because we're not going to be able to get through everything. But I mean, there's so many different things. Where should we start? Should we start? Let's just start at the beginning. Are you
Yes,
cool with that? Great.
you.
So, just a little bit about my background because I think that helps kind of set the stage for like everything in my story, right? So, I was on a very traditional trajectory, like most people. Went to high school, college, got the job in the corporate world. I worked at an engineering company designing instruction manuals.
Mm,
Incredibly boring.
yeah, sounds awful.
uh, yeah, it was terrible. So my degree is in graphic design, and I graduated from high school in I'm sorry, from high school from college in 2010. So that was like right like in the middle of like where everything was weird in the world. So it was like I got an internship and I was just going to keep that, and it turned into a job, and that's what it was at that point, right?
Okay.
Um, but I knew that's what I didn't want to do that forever, right? So
Yeah.
then I moved to city of Chicago, got a job at a digital marketing agency, started at the bottom, worked my way up to a management C-suite position over the course of like 4 years. And in that time I was like, you know what, I don't want to do this, I don't want to work for other people, right?
Mhm.
So but I didn't know how to start a business. Nobody in my family had done that, so I was like, okay, I
Okay.
don't want to do this, but I want to work for myself. What do I
So
do?
no entrepreneurial exposure at that point.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, kind of. I guess in a way I did because the agency I was working at, we worked with franchises.
Okay.
So all of the clients that we had, they were either the franchisors or the franchisees. So I kind of saw what it was like to run a business, but I had no idea. And
Okay.
now, all these years later, I know that a franchise is completely different from your own company, right? But um in that time I didn't know what to do. Like so many of us start out like I didn't have somebody saying like you do XYZ in order to start a business. I was like, let's just go on the internet. So I was
Yeah.
scrolling on Facebook and I was targeted with an ad saying how to use your skills from your corporate job in your own business. And I was like,
Mm.
boom, done. Signed up for the masterclass, signed up for the course, I think, probably.
Yeah.
And just got really excited that first year and started 8 different businesses. And yeah, in 1 year while I was working full time at my job.
Is that while working full time in your job before kids? So would you look back at that version of yourself and say that was shiny object, or was that like, I'm free at Disneyland, I'm so stimulated, I want to take on the world? Like, was it
Yeah.
a good thing? What was going on to start 8 different months?
Yeah. So, well, a couple of different things. So, at that time, my husband and I were very newly married. So, we got married like 2 months before I
Okay.
decided to be like this entrepreneur. So, I was like, hey, surprise. You married me. And now I've decided that I'm going
I'm gonna
to.
explode.
Exactly. And he was, at the time, he was like, okay, well, whatever, like, do whatever you want, not
Yeah.
realizing like how serious I was about this. But um at that time, I did not, I didn't, I think I was just really excited. Plus, I also didn't realize that I had ADHD. I was
Okay.
only recently formally diagnosed last year, last year, 2 years ago. The years are starting to blend together at this point. Um, but I think that contributed to it more than anything. It was like this ADHD, because I like my brain was already going all over the place, right? This desire to want
Mhm.
to get out of this job because I didn't want to do it anymore, right?
Mhm.
And also just like you said, all of the shiny objects of people telling you what you need to do in order to reach your goals. So it was a
Mhm.
combination of those 3 things, which was just very overwhelming.
Yeah.
Right? It's like this
Yeah.
person tells you you need to do drop shipping. This person tells you you need to have like, a blog with advertising. This person tells you you need to have an e-commerce shop, right? So it's like all of these different things.
Okay.
And again, I was brand new to this online world. I didn't know that this beautiful place existed, right?
So, and you were looking for uh, creating something based on what you were being exposed to rather than what was going to work
Exactly.
with your strongest gifts and alignment, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like so at that point, the agency that I was working in, like I said, it was digital marketing. So I had a lot of marketing experience. My
Yeah.
background was in design. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, that's really all you need, right? Like that's all you need to be successful in business. So I was taking what I learned. Obviously it's not, but I was taking what I learned. Um, like just all of the experiences that I had, the different skill sets that I had built up until that point. And then I tried to adapt them to these different business models that these people were telling me I had to do if I wanted to be rich and live my dream life.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that was when it just morphed into this crazy like conglomeration. I don't even know the right term of all of these different businesses
Yeah.
and me working 80 to 100 hours a week to try to keep up with all of this
With
on
all of
top of that
them.
full-time job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Too much. So then the straw that broke the camel's
Yeah.
back, or the aha
Yeah.
moment of none of these businesses really align with who I really am either.
Yeah. Yeah. So then it got to a point where I was like, okay, this is a lot. I think that was probably about 2 years in of doing that, working like
Years
80.
in of caring.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. I think it was about that time because I'm trying to go by when my first son was born. So it was about, yeah, because he was born in 2019. So yeah, up until that point, it was 2018. And um, at that point, I had eventually moved into a virtual assistant business. So I had a virtual
Okay.
assistant business that turned into like this boutique agency.
Okay.
And at that time, that was like really the main thing I was doing with a couple of things on the side, but it was not the 8 different
Yeah.
businesses. I
So
eventually
some of those fell away. You started kind of discerning between what to keep, what not to keep, what was working, what was
exactly.
fun. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then at that point, so in 2018 is when I found out I was pregnant with
Hmm.
my first son. And that was the point where I was like, you know what? This is I can't do this. I can't continue working
Yeah.
80 hours a week being
Yeah.
pregnant
Yeah.
and like I can't do it. Some people can.
You
I
still
was
had your
not.
job at that point too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
I was just doing all of these different things. And
Yeah.
it was really out of necessity that I had to refine what I was doing and I had to get really strategic and I had to get really focused because if I didn't, I knew that I could end up in the hospital and potentially even lose my baby because I was like
Stress
very,
nonstop.
very unhealthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And how was the marriage? Like, did you have time for your husband after you got married?
great question. No,
Right?
I did not.
That would have
I
been
did
a
not.
strain too.
Yeah. So that was another piece that I think people, I mean, people don't talk about that,
Yeah.
right? Like they talk about like what happens in their business, but they don't talk about what happens
In life too.
outside of their business. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was something that, I mean, at the time, our life is just so different now with kids versus not having kids because we were kind of doing our own
Yeah.
thing
Hmm.
um, without really realizing it because he had a full-time job. I had a full-time job. I would just basically wake up, go to the gym, go to the office, come home, work. And
Hmm.
he was a nurse at that time. So he was working like 12-hour shifts. So,
Hmm.
I mean, we would see each other from time to time, like for a couple
Yeah.
hours here and there. And then on weekends, it would, it's hard to say because I don't really remember. There were
Yeah.
times when we would like go out to brunch and do things like that. But the majority of the time, it was just me behind a computer and him saying, like, what are you doing over there?
Mhm.
What
Yeah.
are you doing?
Yeah.
Because he didn't know. Right. And I mean, sometimes, I mean, he kind of understands now,
Yeah.
but um, yeah, I think more than anything, it was more of him not really understanding what I was doing and me telling him, I'm going to make all of our dreams come true. Just
Right.
let me do this. Let me do this. Let me keep working. Let me stay focused and I will make it happen. I will make
Hmm.
and he just trusted me. He trusted me
Mm.
throughout the entire way, which was
Amazing.
incredible. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's amazing. He's like truly my soulmate. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if I, I didn't know if I believed that until
Right.
even the last few years. Like when
Yeah.
I met him, I knew that we were a good match, but I think you truly understand you're compatible with somebody after you've gone through
Yeah.
shit.
Yep.
Right? Like that's when you know if it's a really great relationship. And the beginning stages of starting the business really helped me to see that yeah, he is the right person. And then as the years went on and we had kids and trying to juggle kids and working and the company like that really solidified all of it. So there's just so many. That's why I said we could talk about this for such a long time because there's so many pieces here. There's so many
Well,
different facets.
I love coining terms. Like I swear I missed my calling as a commercial jingle writer because what you're talking about, I like to wordplay with the word lead her ship. So leadership, lead her ship, and her ship is all of life, right? It's all the different pieces, and it isn't as prevalent in the online coaching world or other spaces because we're so focused on the business and looking good with the business. But the holistic success is how does that business integrate with your life as a part of it rather than all of it. And that's not to say that there aren't times where it's nose to the grindstone to get the momentum in and get it set up and launched. But building it, what I see a lot of new female entrepreneurs do is getting really lost in the business and then coming out later with something that has to be revamped, right? And adjusted. And there's a bit of collateral damage that's happened along the way. You don't know what you don't know until you know it. But again, a big piece of what we try to offer through the podcast and through Powerful Inc. is building it the right way, right away, as much as possible, so that we can have like a get to results a little bit faster and not just be solely focused on the outcome of the business. Like I'm going to be working with somebody and she's so like 90 days laser focus, and I was laughing to myself because one of the tasks categories is going to be family.
Right.
you know
Yeah.
that's
Good luck.
part of it's your focus as you go. So yeah, take us continue from there.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I mean, I like you said, I've noticed more people than I can count um come out on the other I say the other side because I feel like this is just like it's an evolution, it's a journey, but come out almost alone, right? Losing friends, losing spouses, partners, right? And it's really sad because in a way, I feel like this world, especially in Western culture, has made us believe that if you don't work hard, if you're not successful, you're nobody. They don't take into consideration all of the other pieces that go into that. And that's, again, another topic that we can discuss. I think that's by design, right?
Yeah.
But it's also so hard. It's so hard in those beginning stages to think about the big picture, even if you want to. Like you have, if you would have told me 8 years ago that I would be where I'm at today, I would have said, I would not have believed you. Oh, and there's my oldest right there walking around behind me. But yeah, I would not have believed, because I couldn't have guessed. I could not have imagined. I couldn't have imagined what would happen in my company. I couldn't have imagined what would happen in my personal life. Like there are so many factors that we can't even, that we it's easy to say like you want to build your business the right way from the beginning, but like you said, you don't know what you don't know. So you almost have to go through that trial and error period to figure out what works for you in your business, what works for you in your life, because unless you do that, you'll never fully know. Right. And that's why I'm so grateful for everything that I've gone through. And this might be cliche to say, but there's really not much that I would change, because if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't be where I'm at. Are there things that maybe I wish I could have done differently? I don't, honestly, probably not. Because even there was a time when I signed up for this program and it was $30,000 and it ended up being a scam. And at the time, I was really upset about that. Really upset about that. We put a lot of money into that. My husband and I both did. And we basically lost it. And at the time, I said, I wish we wouldn't have done this, blah, blah, blah. Now looking back, it actually helped me become not only a better person, but I think a better business owner, because I know that I would never in a million trillion years do that to another person. Right. Because I was personally affected by that. So I made sure that the way that I set my company up would never affect another person the way that it affected me. So I think it's easy to say that that you should set your business up the right way, or like the quote unquote best way from the beginning. And sure, there's ways to do that in terms of strategy, in terms of the business model that you have, but there's also stuff that you just have to go through because you're not going to learn. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So.
Yeah, there's no shortcut for the lived experience that forms who you are. Where we can miss the mark is if we don't see the wisdom and gain the insight and apply it as we move forward, right? So if we plateau with things that happen, then their meaning is lost. But if we can lead ourselves through the conflicts and the unpleasantries that present themselves, we can become stronger. And that's the muscle to build. So it's the training ground to build yourself to be able to grow into a company and gain that confidence and gain that higher and higher vision as you go. Because I do agree, you can't see Steph 8.5 years ago to Steph today, much like a baby can't see that one day they might be a brain surgeon when they're 6 months old. Right?
Yeah.
But as an adult, we can have a bit more self-guidance towards what we want, and that comes more in the feelings and the lifestyle, right, rather than the actual how of what it's going to be.
Yeah, I always say that entrepreneurship was the best, and how do I phrase it? It's like I would not have done any type of self-development or personal development if I can't say that for sure. I probably would not have if I did not start a business, step in entrepreneurship, because I didn't know that you had to do that, right? Like I came from a parents who worked a lot. Single
Mhm.
mom working 60 to 80 hours a week. My dad worked
Um,
retail, also working 40 to 60 hours a week,
mhm.
most weeks. So it's like, that's what I grew up seeing. I grew up watching people
Right.
work, and do. Nobody in my family talked about their feelings. Nobody
Yeah.
talked about, like, how are you feeling right now? What are you going through? Right.
Mhm.
And I've since learned that that is one of the most crucial parts of having a successful business, is not just knowing the strategy, but also doing the inner work. Some people call this mindset, some people call it spiritual work, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. It's doing the work inside of you to clear out the stuff that doesn't serve you anymore, and
Mm.
then almost recondition yourself to understand and believe, most importantly, believe that you're capable of having what you want. Because at the end of the day, nobody's going to do it for you,
Yeah.
right? Again, that's
Yeah.
another cliche, but it's true. Nobody else will build your business for you.
Yeah.
Nobody else will sell for you. Even if you hire people, they can quit tomorrow,
Mhm.
right? At the end of the day, it's your company. So it really comes down to you and believing in yourself and knowing that you're worthy of it. And on top of that, doing the work, right? So there's so many different pieces that go into it. And I think that especially in the beginning, most people are just so focused on
Mhm.
the strategy.
Yeah.
So focused on the strategy because that's what everybody tells you to do, right? Do this, focus on this one thing, have this business model, and you will be quote unquote successful. You will reach your goals. That's what I did. I
Yeah.
followed all of those things. And it wasn't until, again, I was forced to kind of face what was going on inside of me
Mhm.
that I had to do that inner work, or else I wouldn't move forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
And
think,
have
again,
the
that's
why,
not something people
like a child
go.
on the way, to really step out of the fog and see what was going on and reassess.
But it was even after that, honestly, because at that time, I think this maternal instinct kicked in when I got pregnant with my first son, and it was just like, you need to get out of your job, you need to work, right? Because
Mhm.
again, that's what I grew up watching. I
Mhm.
grew up watching my parents work. I grew up just like do. So I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get really strategic. I'm going to just stay really focused, and I'm going to do what I need to do. It wasn't until honestly 2020 that something shifted in me where I was like, something needs to change. This
Mhm.
is not serving me or the person that I want to be with the company that I built. So then that gets into another topic of shifting and changing and pivoting to really focus on what's not only aligned with your true gifts, right? Like your skills that you have, but also what you want for your life, right?
Mhm.
And that was really the beginning of when I started my self development journey. I should have started it, quote unquote, should have, right? Started it
Yeah.
way earlier, but I wouldn't have, again, gone through those experiences and gotten to the point where I realized that I needed to do that work. And I would say that's really where everything shifted for me internally, and then my company just also like entirely changed, and then changed again
Yeah.
in the past couple of years too. And I think that's okay. I
Yeah.
definitely think that's okay. But you just have to make sure, again, you're approaching it strategically and you're from a business standpoint, right? We don't want to just burn things to the ground when we have no money,
Yeah.
right? You have to approach it strategically, but you also have to approach it in a way that feels good to you internally, because if it doesn't feel good to you, it's not sustainable,
Yeah.
right?
Like the making instruction manuals.
Exactly. Yes, I will say I have so much more respect whenever I see an instruction manual, because I'm like, well, at this point, AA probably makes them. That was like 15 years ago, right? But at this point, I just have so much more respect for instruction manuals. So I was like, a human may have made that.
Right? Yeah. So from the VA, is the VA business the one that sort of started the hints of calling to what you've built today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, I started that virtual assistant company, and I was just doing things that I had been doing in my corporate job. So it was a lot of like digital marketing, like back end stuff. I've always been very like organized and
Mm.
loved the tech. Just I don't know why. Just that's just how I've always been. So I started to just implement that in my own business, and then started doing it with other people. But that got to a point where I was like, you know what? I don't really want to do this for other people anymore. I want to
Mhm.
show other people how to do this,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
that was at a point where I had done what I currently teach, right? I was able to really refine my business. I was able to work less than 20 hours a week with like family and all of this. And that was when I said, okay, I've been doing this at that point for 3 years. I was like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm
Mhm.
doing. I could teach this. I could teach this to other people. And that was when that shift happened. And that was about late 2020, early 2021, where I decided that I wanted to teach people this. So then I moved into more like a coaching and mentorship space. And I have been doing that since,
Yeah.
because that's just what felt good and aligned to me and
Yeah.
what was right for that season of life that I was into, which I think is important. And a lot of people discount, because running a business without kids is totally different from
Yeah.
running a business
Oh my God.
with
Yeah.
kids.
When my daughter doesn't go to bed till 9:30 or 10, I dream of, like, I mean, the days
Yeah.
before, I'll say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where you had
What were those days
time,
like when I could
endless
just like do,
time. Yeah.
yeah, do
Whatever I
whatever I
wanted.
wanted?
Until 1 o'clock, to stay up until 1 o'clock on a school night? Like, whoa.
Yeah. Oh, well, now that sounds
Um,
terrible.
yeah,
Yeah.
they change. And again, that's the part of, having a business that fits into your life, not that your life fits around, and that's a big piece. And so with what you've developed, you are helping people um, figure out how to weave business into what already exists, which does help like a startup um, may keep themselves on a leash a little bit, right? Because when we find something that we think we want to do and explore the entrepreneurial side of ourselves, it is like just so activating and so exciting. But we can get lost in it. So anchoring onto a system, anchoring onto a way to do it sustainably, doesn't mean that you're going to miss out on any lessons, because there are no shortcuts through lived experience, but it can help you um, kind of get into a flow a little bit faster, right? And I mean, systems, they're everywhere. And I've often said that entrepreneurs will review that, or will look at that word as a bit of a dirty word, but it doesn't have to be. First of all, it doesn't have to be a dirty word, and second, it's not like let's not stereotype it as being something that's big or complicated or anything like that. A system is simply like, you know, the fridge is a system, because all of your food that needs to stay cold and last for a couple of days or more goes in the fridge, right? And so that's what we do in business. And that's going to help anchor us into exploring our spark, our entrepreneurial spark, while setting things in place to um, test it in the waters, like you say, and see what's going to come out as a result of this new offer. So take us into, the systems, the like, I guess a bit into what you've developed now and why you so deeply believe and know, how it's of service.
Yeah. And I mean, I think when you're right, when people hear systems, I think it's like this dirty, scary word. And systems can be anything, right? You can create a system out of it. I have a system for taking my garbage out, or my
Yeah.
husband. I don't take the garbage out. My husband taking the garbage out every week, right? But business is more than systems too. Like, sure, systems are important, but especially as solopreneurs, you really need to simplify things in the
Mhm.
beginning. In the
Yeah.
beginning, or even after a few years, like
Yeah.
if you're working more than you want to be working right now, if you're feeling overwhelmed, all you really have to do is simplify things. That's it,
Yeah.
right? So and then that's that framework that I have, where I teach people how to really focus on solving one problem with one offer, right? And then
Mhm.
of course there's other aspects into it, but that's really the main thing, right? And that's the part that people struggle with the most, because they don't know the problem they're solving. Just
Mhm.
like all those years ago, I didn't know the problem I was solving. I was
Yeah.
just trying to get out of my job,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And I think that's where most people get stuck. And that's why they don't move forward, because every business solves a problem. Whether it's Amazon delivering your package the same day,
Mhm.
or so you don't have to go to Target, right? Yeah. Or if you want a burrito, you go to Chipotle, right? There's every business is solving a problem. And if you don't know what that problem is, you can, it's going to be much more difficult. Yeah. But you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle with marketing. You're going to struggle with selling because you're speaking to too many people and you likely have too many offers that don't make sense and they're not connected together. So when you're marketing, when you're selling, what you're saying, it's not connecting with people, right? And again, this kind of all goes back to that framework that I mentioned, but it's really understanding what that problem is and how you can solve that problem with that offer. And you also have to take into account your skill sets too, right? So let's just say, for example, the problem that I solve is helping people simplify their businesses so they can work less than 20 hours a week, right? That's the problem that I solve. Now, most people who come to me, they have 6 different offers because that's what someone told them to do, right? They have this value ladder, this giant like suite of offers, and they're wondering, well, why am I not making any money? And I ask them, I say, okay, well, what are you doing every day? And they're like, well, I don't really know what I'm doing every day. So that's it. Because you're not focused, because your attention is split between all of these different things, right? So if you can just stay focused on one offer, right? Stay really focused on one offer, do that thing, go all in on it. Once you reach your goals, add another one on top of it. Yeah. But that's when that fear kicks in. That's when that scarcity kicks in, right? And people are just kind of doing whatever they think they are supposed to do, quote unquote, to make money. They're listening to too many voices. So then they start to implement strategies that aren't even right for their business model, like service providers implementing strategies that coaches are doing when they'll never work for your business model, right? And vice versa, right? You see like people doing one-on-one coaching, trying to implement strategies for, I don't like brick and mortar, right? And sure, there's a time and place to adapt strategies across niches, across industries, but again, you have to be strategic with it, and you have to make sure that it's fully aligned with the offer that you're selling. Because again, if it's not, you're just going to be implementing 10 different strategies for 6 different offers, and that's why you're not getting anywhere because your attention is split up and you're not focused.
And you're trying to do too much all at the same time, rather than McDonald's started with burger and fries and milk. That was it. That was their core, right? Out of one stop. And so that simplicity is part of the self-development work, because we're thinking, oh, we got to hustle, we got this, and absolutely, we're looking at what the internet is doing, or what the internet is telling us, and what the internet is telling us is buy my program and I will solve your problem.
Exactly.
We're one of those too, but we need to find for ourselves and build our own leadership in how we're going to make it work for our business. Because systems will apply unilaterally to all businesses, but not everybody needs the same system, which is what you were just saying. So you kind of customize your own flow that's going to be based on what your offers are, how you want to serve, if it's group, if it's one-on-one, if it's whatever, evergreen, etc. And also on the personality. So like I found when I was in the OBM days, online business manager, like I kept trying to make the clients fit into my mold. And it was very frustrating and took a lot more time for me and like effort and just I wasn't getting the results I wanted for them, but it wasn't their problem. It's because I wasn't working with their personality, right? Everybody's going to respond to systems a little bit differently. And that's been a huge freeing change to be able to serve better. And you spoke to this too, that when we're starting out, we're like excited and we're running, like just running in the wind, but we're thinking about ourselves because we're excited for what may happen for us, for that dream lifestyle, etc. when we shift into this service of really knowing who we're showing up for and what problem we're solving, it's a completely different framework to operate from, and it's a lot more holistic.
Yeah, I was reading this book. I can't remember what book it was, but they mentioned a an interview that Steve Jobs did at some point, and he focused on, or the conversation was focused on being customer centric.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't heard that before. I mean, it makes sense, or maybe I had heard it before, but I wasn't ready to receive it when I
Yeah.
heard it. Right? That's probably more likely. um, but that was really what kind of shifted things for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can run a business for yourself all day long, but if you don't have people giving you money, you don't have a business, right? But on the flip side, when you put your people first, your customers first, your clients first, that's when not only will they tell you what they want, which makes things much easier for
Mm-hmm.
you to create the things that will sell, but it also shows that you care on top of it. And people
Mm-hmm.
respond to that energy, especially now. I feel like it's become, I don't like using the word saturated. I don't like using the word saturated because I feel like, and I don't like using the word competition because I feel like um,
Mm-hmm.
there's more than enough room for all of us, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, in the past few years, there have been more people coming online to start a business because
Yeah.
I think that uh, that just happened because of COVID and whatnot.
Yeah.
Since that time, a lot of businesses have also stopped because people realize, oh, it may not be as easy as I thought it was going to be. But again, in that time, there had been more people showing up, more people selling, more people marketing, more people just doing sleazy things and putting themselves first. So when
Mm-hmm.
you can really showcase that you care about other people, showcase how you're different, and really put the customer or client first,
Mm-hmm.
that's when you're going to be able to build those connections. That's when you're going to be able to build those relationships. And that's when you will not only build this really great, either like depending on the business you have, your client roster or customer list, but it also builds referrals for you too, which, and that
Mm-hmm.
just extends beyond you, right?
Yeah.
Because people are talking about you, people are sharing about you because they know that you're real, they know that
Yeah.
you actually care, and you're not just out here trying to make a quick buck like
Yeah. That program.
12,000 other people out there. Right?
Yeah.
So I think that's really where, really the difference, right? So after you get through those initial stages, you do the trial and error, you're going to get to a point where you're like, I can't do this for myself anymore. Like I have to think of somebody other than myself. And you will be forced to think about other people, your clients, your customers. And that's truly when people usually come to me, especially in my membership, the Simple Business School. That's when
Mm-hmm.
they come to me because they've gotten to the point where they've been doing this for, I don't know, a couple of years, maybe even
Yeah.
a couple of months. And they're like, this is not sustainable. There's just too much going on. And I got, this isn't working. Right. And they
Yeah.
they realize that not only do they need to simplify, but they need to take a step back, and they
Mm-hmm.
really need to reassess
Mm-hmm.
how this business that they've spent all of this time building is going to, like you said, fit into their life, fit into this bigger picture, not only for them and their family, but also for the impact that they want to have in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. We need help. Everybody needs help. And we work
Mhm.
better when there's multiple minds brainstorming together, and when somebody can fill in gaps that we don't know. We don't have to know everything. Again, solopreneur, you're starting out and you think that you have to be and do everything, and you don't. You just have to be good at what your core offer is going to be and know that you can deliver on that night and day, right? But all the other things, like, don't have to be an expert in. So you go out and you get some help to fill in those gaps, to support yourself, and to get training. It's almost like, oh, I'm an adult, I'm finished school, like I'm in the working life now. No, we're always learning. There's always more to go. And there's people that we can learn from that are really going to help us achieve those goals in a way that we won't, like you said earlier, figure out for ourselves. And if we
Mhm.
do, it will be long and painful. And
Yeah,
you,
I
the perfect transformation of that, of having worked that full-time job plus the extra online building hours after, to now running such a spatial life, under 20 hours a week, and teaching people to do the same, and that you made that transition while starting a family, is very impactful and very like a strong testimony to what is possible for others.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, again, we could talk about that for a long time, but I also think it's important to really be careful about the people who you're learning from, right?
Mhm.
Because there's a lot of people who will say things just to get the sale. They will
Mhm.
straight up lie to your face, because this has happened to me. They will
Yeah.
straight up lie to you, say that they can help you do XYZ, whatever it is that you want to do. So, and I think people are realizing that, and they become jaded, and they're afraid to invest in people and get that support because they've had maybe one bad experience or two bad experiences. So that's why I always say, whenever you're thinking about working with somebody or getting support from them, ask, talk to them, have a
Mhm.
conversation with them, make
Mhm.
sure it's a good fit before. And anybody who is truly heart centered, right, will
Mhm.
either have that conversation with you directly, or if they have this massive, massive, massive company, one of their team members will, and then should, maybe, I don't know, direct that to you if you have any specific questions for that person, right? But even at that point, when you have 7, 8 figure businesses, the team members will should
Mhm.
should have that same set of moral values and be able to convey um, the results that you'll get and the support that you'll receive as well. And I think that's, again, just something that is hard to do, and we forget about because of all the shiny objects, all of the sales tactics and strategies that people are throwing out left
Mhm.
and right. And that's just one piece of wisdom that I would like to give after investing, at this point, I don't even know, like over $300,000, maybe
Yeah.
more, in different courses, programs, mentors. Like it's been a lot.
Yeah.
And I can genuinely say that there's probably a handful of good experiences that I've had. But again, that was on me. That was on me
Mhm.
because I didn't know what I didn't know. I
Yeah.
didn't know that I needed to have these conversations. I didn't know that I needed to look behind the scenes, right? Because
Oh.
that's another thing. A lot of people will say one thing, and then behind the scenes, it's completely different,
Mm.
completely different. And I think more of that is starting to come out. Like you'll see people even um, shutting down their businesses. That's happened a lot recently, because on the outside it looked like things were really
Mhm.
great, but behind the scenes they were struggling.
Mhm.
And there were a lot of mental health issues. Their team members were leaving left and right because they didn't know how to be a leader in
Mhm.
their organization. So there's so many different pieces that go into this, but I would say just talk to them. Talk to a member of their team, and figure out if it makes sense for you, right? Because not everybody's going to be a fit, and that's also okay.
Well, yeah, and i- it's like dating, right? You want to
Yeah.
try them out and get to know them, because some people are just trying to close you for the sale. And what you're looking for is also kind of who you want to model after, right? And
Yep.
and what we see online is really intended to draw us in, but you don't know if it's going to serve you if you don't know the people behind it. And there
Right.
is that, like, I definitely went through it, and I really keep myself on a short leash now every time a new sexy course comes out, and I'm like, ooh, no, 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 I'm good. I'm gonna work with
Yeah.
what I have. Trust in myself. Um, but there's it's very stimulating at the beginning, and we're looking for an answer, and we're wanting to jump on something fast. That's what shiny object is. It's looking for instant gratification, and there is no instant gratification, right? You have
Yep.
to take your time to do the work, and it's exciting at the beginning, stay in that excitement, but don't let it mislead you by getting bounced around. So absolutely, you know, meeting you, and when we messaged, I really saw the woman behind the business and the heart in that, and that you're absolutely a very real person, a very accessible person who is damn good at systems and branding, and like the business looks amazing. And then behind it all, you are just this very genuine, very real woman with a desire in her heart to offer to others what you've achieved for yourself. Right. And so, whatever transformation we're offering, if we really want to give it to somebody, you can climb into bed, honey. There's mine.
Kids are
got
just waking up left and right.
Kids on the show today, folks. Um, so yeah, look for who you want to be as well, right? In that. And again, like it is so exciting. Make space for that. But when it takes over, we kind of start going down different rabbit holes and detours and things like that.
Yeah, and I mean that's easy to do because that's
It's all
fun and
so
that's
new.
exciting.
Yeah, it's just
Right.
all so new.
And then on the flip side of that, again, this is where that inner work and that personal development comes in. Is a lot of the times we do that because we don't feel we're good enough,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's something that I did for a while, just bouncing around to different things because I would start one thing, uh, not get like, for example, I would create something, not make any sales from it, and then I would just create something new, but I didn't give it the time
Yeah.
to to make the sales. Right.
Mhm.
I didn't do any. I was just sitting behind a screen not talking to people about it, and then
Mhm.
once I emailed my email list of like what 150 people at that
Mhm.
point, was wondering why is nobody buying this thing that I just spent months and months and months creating. Well, why would they? They don't know who
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah.
Right. Like
Yeah.
you email them whenever you have something to sell.
Mhm.
Right. Again, that goes into there's so many different places where we can we can branch off and talk about like that's another conversation about email marketing strategy and whatnot. But
Well, let's bring it in then, kind of as we come to the climax or the grand finale, because this is now speaking to what we touched on at the beginning, well, before we hit record, I think, but about being confident and not perfect,
yeah,
right? And trusting yourself and yeah, practicing, but practicing with something. Like my favorite analogy, when we learned to walk, we just practiced and practiced and practiced until it stuck.
yeah,
And oh my gosh, if we don't stick with it as a new entrepreneur, then you're never going to learn to walk, right? Because you're going to let it fall
yeah,
flat.
yep. I was my so I have a well, he's how old is he? I think he's 16 months at this
Yeah,
point, and he just
yeah,
started walking a
yeah,
few months ago, and I
yeah.
was reminded of that analogy again of
Mhm,
how
mhm,
important it is because he would get up and he would fall,
mhm,
and then he would get
mhm,
up, take a step, and he would fall, and I was like,
mhm.
oh, this, this is it.
Yeah.
This is what it is. Like this, not only business but life in
Yes.
general, right? Like that, we're just standing up, we're taking a step, and then we're falling. We're standing up, we're taking a few more steps, and then we're falling, right? And then eventually you're going to walk, and then eventually you're going to run, but it's
Mhm.
not going to happen. It's not going to happen overnight, right? We're not. What this is really ridiculous, but what animal is that starts walking right away? Is that a baby calf that can just get up
Yeah,
and
right.
start running
Yeah.
right away? Yeah,
Or a
that is
horse.
not
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
or a horse.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are humans. There's a lot that we have to consider, not just from a strategic business perspective, but all of the things that have happened before we even started this business,
Mhm.
right? All of the limiting beliefs that we have, all of the mindset stuff that's coming up. And again, that's something that we're not thinking about in the beginning because we're just so focused on the strategy and so focused on making money and doing
Mhm.
XYZ to reach our goals. But again, eventually, if you're not here yet, I'm telling you, you're going to get to a point where you realize that it's so crucial to do that inner work, do that self development, and then you'll get to a point like this kind of circles back to what you mentioned that you're going to get to a point where you realize it doesn't have to be perfect,
Yeah.
right? the reason that you wanted it to be perfect, the reason that you had to redesign your sales page 200 times before you sent an email to your list was because of those limiting beliefs that you had that likely happened at some point in your childhood. Somebody made you feel not good enough. And then you just had that belief ingrained in your head, but you didn't realize it. That's a fun part. That's where the subconscious comes in. Again, another topic for another day. But that's where the work comes in, right? That's where that muscle comes in that you have to build, because confidence doesn't happen overnight. And I also think there's a difference between people who kind of fake it till they make it versus people who are truly confident. And I mean, at this point, I've done a lot of development that I can see people, and I can see when somebody is very, very real and somebody who's just trying to fake it till they make it. It's almost like this energy, right? Like almost like they feel like they know everything, right? They're not willing to admit to their mistakes, right? It's something along the lines of that. And I will be the first person to tell you, I am not perfect. I make mistakes every single day. I have a goal to fail at something every day, because if I don't fail at something, then I'm not getting better.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's another thing that people are really afraid of, is failing at the smallest thing, sending an email out with a typo.
Yeah.
Versus the big thing of their entire business failing.
Well, taking the action of doing it with the typo is more important than the typo.
Yeah, exactly.
And it shows that you're real, that you are here in service, and that you're a person just like anybody else. And it removes barriers where somebody might be less inclined to want to work with you because they can't relate to you. That when you show up, in the same t-shirt you wear every day for your podcast, they know you're a real person.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, we're all real people, right? And
we want to
the
bring
sooner
that,
we get comfortable.
Yeah. And know that who you are behind the scenes, which you guys, by the way, is Steph's podcast that's on pause right now, right? So just to be clear, but it's such a good tagline, that who you are behind the scenes is who you are in front of the scenes too. But when you are serving in your expertise, you come with a bit more stature, because you're in your zone of genius, right? And so you're firing off. But just because you can look like a rock star when you're teaching, it doesn't mean that you're not that you're any different behind the curtain.
Yeah, I always say, whenever I send an email, I want, or come on an interview like this, right? I always want people to know that if you were in my living room right now, I would be the exact same person with you.
Yeah.
Because for a while, I did fake it, because I wasn't happy with the person that I was, because for so many years, I felt like I had to be a different person for people to like me.
Boom.
Right. And a lot of people do this, right?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that I was doing it. I was just kind of fitting into a mold that other people would accept, not even realizing if they did, quote unquote, accept that or not. But after I got to a point where I was like, it is exhausting. It's exhausting to be somebody I am not. I was just like, screw it.
Yeah.
If people don't like me, they don't have to. And that's okay. We're not going to like everybody.
No.
Right. And
Vice versa.
person who exactly. I'm not going to like everybody, and I'm okay with that. And I think one person who really personifies this, and people hate on her for it, is Taylor Swift. Right. Because there are people who love her and there are people who hate her. And she's the same age as me, which I always think is amazing. Because it's crazy. But she, again, has gotten to a point where she's like, I don't care. I straight up do not care. But she had to go through all of those trials and those tribulations to get to where she was. Now, it's hard for people to relate to that, because she is like the biggest superstar in the world right now. Right. Or like, that's ever happened ever in the history of music.
Forget Santa, it's Taylor.
Right. Exactly. But I mean, even from like me. I am not Taylor Swift. I'm Stephanie Blake. And I will tell you, like, the same things that she has had to go through, I'm assuming, are very similar to the things that I've had to go through, that you've had to go through, that anybody has to go through. She's just on a much bigger scale than all of us. Right. But at the end of the day, she's still a human too.
Mhm.
She's still a human. We're all just humans figuring it out every single day and failing along the way. And that's okay.
Yeah. They're part of the lessons and part of how we get defined and get comfortable to just be ourselves and be okay with that and still get to be rich, make money, have impact, build something meaningful, and help others fall into that groove with themselves.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. Yep. You can have the life that you want if you believe that it's possible. And you can also have other people or help other people achieve the goals that they want. But again, you have to believe it's possible. If you don't believe it's possible, it's never going to happen.
Yeah. So doing it with community helps. Doing it with
Mm-hmm.
people who show you how helps. So if we wanted to follow along with the Blake Collective, where can we find you?
Yeah. So Instagram is the best place. My handle is the Blake Collective. That's the best place to hang out with me. And I will also at some point be doing some more videos on YouTube. So you can find me on YouTube there. Same handle, the Blake Collective. But yeah, I mean, I know you mentioned my membership 20-hour week club. That's also a really good place to kind of get a feel for who I am, what I'm like. This is me. It's not much different. It's not different at all, actually. This is just who I am. If you like my style, that's a really good way to kind of like dip your toe in if you want more of me, and if you want, again, that bigger community like you were talking about. And that's 20hourweekclub.com.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, we'll put those in with the episode description. And I mean, was just amazing. Thank you for joining me this morning. It was an absolute delight. I had such a good time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was a great conversation.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, have a good day.
You too.